Okay, my friends, hello and welcome to another episode of Two Marketers and a Coworking podcast. We have our guest friend, Justin Moran from Workspace in Massachusetts, and he is our resident AI expert extraordinaire who just came out of nowhere and became the world's best AI aficionado. So a lot's changed in the last 6 months with the introduction of Claude Cowork and the capabilities it has to actually produce more work and not just be a thought partner. We recently had a panel discussion in Toronto, the three of us, and we discussed how we're using AI in our business. Taylor and I focusing on the marketing side, and actually Justin's use cases were largely marketing related, but also operations related. So we won't go over everything we talked about, but we just wanted to have a supplementary video that would explain how we're approaching things and really just kind of show you very broadly what the front door looks like if you were to embark on one of these projects that we've been able to do. We'll show you a couple examples. We'll generally talk to you how we start it. This is not going to be a comprehensive click-by-click breakdown, but hopefully you'll leave this conversation with a knowledge of at least where do I start? What tools am I using? What does the landscape look like? And the good news is AI will teach you how to do a lot of things, as all of us will allude to as we're talking. It'll teach you how to do stuff. So you just have to be able to get started and make sure you're starting in the right place. So I'll turn it over to you, Justin. And if you want to give us kind of an intro on, your technical background and then jump right into a project, we'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Appreciate you guys having me back on the pod. I'm the first two-time guest. Pretty excited about that.
Yeah, and one of the most, if not the most popular viewed episode on YouTube. Nothing to do with how often Justin revisits it just to watch his glorious podcast interview. I don't know what episode that was, but it wasn't too long ago.
Yeah,
I got to get the bot farms working for us for our views. Just run it on a loop.
Just pump those up.
Yeah,
That'll be a different AI session. So yeah, Justin, thanks for joining us again.
No problem.
Do you want to take it away and introduce us to what you're doing?
Yep. So I have a small co-working business in Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. I've got 5 locations, focused mostly on private offices. I've got 200 private offices, some shared space, meeting rooms, the same things you guys all do. I'm 51 years old. I've never written a line of code in my life. I have a sales background largely. I'm interested in technology. I consider myself tech forward. But like I said, I've never written a line of code. But in the last 120 odd days, at least Claude tells me I've written close to 200,000 lines of code. Anyways, I will do a quick share of just how my journey with what we're sort of talking about today started. So when I was introduced to Claude, I was at a point where I had grown sort of tired of the LLMs. There wasn't really much else I could do. I bounced around from one platform to another. Gemini was free. It came with my Google Workspace. So I was jamming on Gemini for a long time. I discovered Claude and sort of my whole world opened up. And there was, I guess there's been sort of 3 phases of my journey with it. At first, I just connected all the things that I use today. So my whole suite of Google apps, I connected Cisco Meraki that handles all my network. I connected Google Ads, Google Analytics, all this stuff, and just got curious. Just started to toy around with them. And the biggest question I would always ask was, tell me something I don't know. And it was great. And then I discovered that perhaps I could start building things. Perhaps I could start filling in some of the blanks that my current tech stack was not providing. So I always say this, and maybe some people are tired of hearing it, but like a lot of the co-working management platforms that we use today are good at doing a lot of things, just not doing a lot of things really well. They're kind of like a mile wide, and in some cases, an inch deep. In some cases, a mile deep. They're really good at some things, but not great at others. So, there was a couple of instances where I thought, if I had something that could do this, it would make my life and my employees' lives, my community managers' lives a lot easier. So, I'll give one example here. We all create proposals and everyone has their own ideas on how to do it. But guess what? This is my business. I want them done the way I want them done. So I made a proposal builder, basically. So if you just complete this form, and which location, what they're interested in, what office they might want. It spits out a proposal that's in a form and a format and a function that I want. The next step is to put together a license agreement. And once again, there was different versions of this license agreement that my attorney had authored years back, because it was different. There was different versions because every client is different. So people would mock up the version, and then the next client comes along, so they would go to that version and just mock it up again. And so, but again, my business, I want people under agreements approved by my attorney, written in the right way. So it's the same idea. You just put in everyone's terms, what office they're going for, and you hit this button, and it spits out exactly what you want people to enter into for an agreement. Last one I'll talk about is the infrastructure logger. So at each location, things go wrong. And this is a great example of how co-working management platforms, everybody has an issue reporter, but what happens after that? Well, after you log in the issue on this app that I built, it goes through a process. How is it actually going to get fixed? Who are we going to call? What's the timeline? Things of that nature. So I went on this journey basically to use AI to fill in some technology gaps and help my business run the way I want it to be run. And then I just kept getting more and more curious about, where I could go next with this. And one day they came out with Claude Design, and it was a Friday. That next day was a rainy Saturday. And I said, you know what? Screw it. I am going to rewrite my website, because no matter what I did with it, with Claude or with any other tools, I could not, because it was 5 years old and had a bunch of legacy pages, things that were weighing it down. It could just not score as well as it should from an SEO perspective. So I spent Saturday and Sunday that weekend basically rewriting my website. And at 5:00 on Sunday, I had a brand new website, and it's gone through some changes.
How many hours into it were you at that point, Justin? By
Sunday? How many hours on Sunday?
By Sunday at 5. How little
probably
did you sleep?
I would say, no, I slept. Probably about, I would say, honestly, I'd say 20.
Okay.
It was raining hard.
Yeah. Nothing else to do, nowhere to be.
There was nothing to do. Well, I have to fix that.
Just ask Claude. Let's fix it in real time.
I will ask Claude. Figures it's glitching right now. Anyways.
As you were.
So, as I was. This is probably a $15,000 website that I wrote for a $200 a month subscription to Claude. And I probably spent another few $100s on Claude Design, because that's not included in the max plan. But well worth it, in my opinion. And it allows you, like I said, in Canada, like it allows you to sort of level up as a small business owner. You're putting, your best face forward. You're putting technology in front of a client that, gives them the confidence that, wow, this is obviously an established company. They know what they're doing. It's, super easy to go in and, book something within seconds, I think that's been the biggest benefit to my business so far, is just sort of leveling me up with the likes of, you name it, WorkBar, Regis, WeWork, as far as, putting together a front-facing website that really gives folks confidence that they're going to be entering into a relationship with someone that knows what they're doing.
Time to start white labeling those tools you've built.
Yeah, perhaps.
As a matter of fact, I mean, you go to his virtual page, he's now selling websites. So
yeah, I figured why not? Why not?
You may end up a web designer by the end of 2026. You start off the year as a co-working operator, you end the year as an agency owner.
Right.
Evolution.
Not sure I want to go down that road, but
I wouldn't advise it.
Yeah. But it also gives you a confidence, like, nobody knows what's going to happen to our economy, to the way we do business, to our livelihood, whatever. Everyone has all these open questions about AI and how it's going to affect things. But like staying on top of the sort of bleeding, not that I'm some, developer actually writing, what's going into these AI models, but like at least I'm on the sort of leading edge of a business person's view or business person's abilities, because you never know what's going to happen.
Well, Justin, me and you were talking about this at the conference too, where we were saying like nobody knew 18 months ago what was going to be available and doable now. And I think probably we wouldn't even have been able to imagine it. So it's like, who knows what it's going to be in 3 years? But eventually people are going to have the same, like it's going to be a level playing field with the same tools available. So at least if you're doing stuff, you're trying things, you're tinkering with stuff, you're building things, at least you're kind of staying ahead of that. Like I think eventually adoption is going to be universal. Everybody's going to use these tools. So then what are you, like, will you have the skills that you've built over the years to make these things that improve your business or whatever? Like it's important to stay ahead of it, even if it's not, who knows where it's going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there are people that are building applications inside of vertical industries left, right, and center. And you never know if you don't introduce yourself to these technologies now, this big platform is going to come out and it's going to do all of these things. And it's going to have this nice shiny price tag, and you're not going to, if you don't start toying with this technology now, you're not going to know what's smoke and mirrors and how easy is that perhaps to do on your own versus paying someone the big dollars to do it. So yeah, I just really encourage everybody, as any business owner, to really start to dip their toe into it and start to understand how things work in the background a little bit. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to spend all weekend building anything, but it's so much is going to come at you in the next 5 years, and it's going to be important to know, which one or what's worth spending money on and what's worth trying to build on your own, I guess is the easiest way to say it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I think also just regarding not knowing the future and everything else, like if you just think about it just logically, like in the meantime, we don't really have a choice, right? So that's up to the world, the way it's going to play out. Any predictions we have often are wrong. People of every technology has said this thing's going to destroy our children, whether it's video games, television, the internet, and it's like anything, it's like any tool is both the best and the worst thing, like it's a lever, right? So it's going to positively lever good and bad, regardless that we don't really have a choice. So you either don't adopt it and then fall behind in your competitiveness and your business will suffer. And if that's your moral position, I understand. Or you adopt it, you become good at it like every other tool and technology. Like I always used to say, there's no old guys in marketing because they just stopped learning, especially during the digital age and the digital era. And
Right.
And so, in order to stay relevant, we have to adopt and reinvent the way we do our work every 5 years anyway, especially in the rapid development of technology. Co-working operators are no different. Things are constantly changing, new software, new tools. So this is just another one of those. So you either suffer the consequences today or in 10 years, or more likely though, it's just, there's going to be new problems created, new opportunities, new ways to think about all of your options, because there's unlimited things you could do. So it always comes back to, well, what are you going to work on? And so that's kind of my general thoughts on AI is like, I'm not for or against it. I'm just like, it's a lever and to my work today. And I think, I'm more techno optimist, and I think it'll work out in our favor, and there'll be all kinds of negative consequences, but what else is new? And we're just going to keep adapting, because like all of humanity has been that way, steps forward and steps back and adapting. And anyway, that's my diatribe. We can cut that out if it's no good, but
you said it better than I did.
That's good.
We're all aware that we're all aware that this would affect all of us, even if you're not like a marketing freelancer or whatever, or as an operator, you're still subject to the supply and demand of the market. So it's a concern for everybody, but I net, I think it'll be positive, but I don't want to make any predictions.
I was gonna say, what else is interesting too about like the sentiment towards AI and the negative impacts of it is like, you're already seeing that like the cost of AI is getting so high that massive corporations that are using it at a huge scale are now running out their AI budgets like in Q1. Like I think Uber already was like, we're done. We spent our whole year budget like in Q1 and now we got nothing left.
Properly. Yeah, they didn't know.
Well, because it's getting more expensive. But so I think that it seems scary and there's a lot of negative, there's a lot of negativity around it for the purposes of using it at scale and everybody worrying like it's going to take jobs and things like that. But I also think that in the context of a business owner, whether you're like a single location operator or you have 5 or 10 or 50 locations or whatever, like there's a lot that you can do on a smaller scale that meets a lot of needs that you have and addresses a lot of challenges too. So like taking the scariness or whatever, the negative sentiment away from it, there is a lot of positive you can do in your own business. And there's a lot, so I think it's a counter argument to the big scary AI thing.
Yep. I once heard Gary V. I don't know if you guys know Gary Vaynerchuk in New York. I once heard him say, like, if you're a small business owner and you don't have either full control or full knowledge over every aspect of your social media strategy, you're insane. And I took that to heart, like 5 or 6 years ago. And I kind of feel the same with AI. Like if you're a small shop like me with, half a dozen people working together on its vision, and you don't understand how these technologies should be introduced, how they impact your business, how they impact your competitors, what your competitors are doing with them, that mentality doesn't make any sense to me.
Great.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll just keep trucking along here. Justin, was there any more examples, or do you want to kind of point us into like functionally how you went about building either your website or the custom app? Like, did you know all the technology stack to use? How did you even approach it that one rainy weekend?
Definitely not. No, thanks for bringing that back around. Like, no, the answer is no. My curiosity would be speaking to Claude Chat in a business sense, explaining an issue that I would like to address. And then it goes in the background and just starts chugging along. And you say, my process now is I say to it, please write me a prompt that I can paste into code that will give me a result that solves this business issue. I could share a quick example if that makes sense. So actually just this morning, I was in my car, actually charging my car, and I started talking to the Claude app because I had this idea. So we sell virtual office services here at Workspace, and what I wanted, and the business is going like this. It's up 30 or 40% in the last 120 days. I'm elated. Anyways, we're getting all these new clients, and I want to make it easier for my community managers to give these new clients the information they need about their subscription and how to interact with us, how to get their mail, all that. So I just spoke into Claude Chat and I said, give me a prompt to create a website or web page for each of the locations that we can just send out to folks and they can get all the information they need. So it came up with this prompt. So you basically just copy all, and then you go over here. I'm in chat. So then you go over here to code and you throw it in. It's still working on it, actually. You throw it in and it reads it really quick. It gives you a summary of what you asked for. These are the 7 sections, blah, blah, blah. And you just go through this process of, I basically just do this all the time and just say, yes, keep going, keep going, keep going. So the end result, it spits out this new web page that it built. So welcome to Workspace Beverly, if that's where you signed up for the virtual office address service. And a little bit about us and myself. Here's how to use the address. Here's how to pick up your mail. I'm going to make a video telling people exactly how to find, where the mailbox is in case no one's at the front desk. You get 20% off, day passes in meeting rooms. Here are the people that you interact with, myself and Dea. If you have a question, feel free to fill out this form anytime. So it's just an example of having a business problem. The business problem is I need to get information in the hands of the people that need it quickly. I'd like to do it in a branded fashion. I'd like to do it quickly. I'd like to, give the best thing I can do for my employees such that we can continue to run lean is to give them efficient ways to disseminate information to the people that care about it. And that's just a great example of doing that. And one of the best ways to do that today is Claude.
So let me just break down what you did there real quick. So you opened Claude, you went into a chat, you could do chat, coworker code, you went into org design, you went into chat, and you spoke to your AI. So did you use Whisperflow or any tool, or did you just use the old button on it?
I just used the button on the app.
Okay. And it cuts you off after 2 or 5 minutes, I think, unless that's been changed. But there's a little audio button. Previously, there was a limit. So
Whisperflow really? I've never been cut off. But
Cool. Okay. It doesn't obviously like the sound of my voice, but yeah. Okay. So you just chatted. So you press a little button that looks like an audio thing. You press that and you just talk for a few minutes. And this is like a game changer. So I just want to dwell on it for that half a second because you can get a lot done with the conversation. But rather than prompting all the information needed, you gave it the information and then asked it for a prompt, which gave you a much more technical prompt to be put into code after. And I think that's a little other second piece there.
The whole prompt thing can be intimidating for someone that does not use AI, because when they see a prompt or they see like a blurb on like a YouTube short, or if they're desk scrolling Instagram and some dude is like, here's how I use Claude, blah, blah, blah. I just wrote this prompt, blah, blah, and it's this massive thing. Beautiful, it's like, well, that dude must have a computer science degree because I don't know what the hell that means. So prompts are dead, basically. Your voice is alive. You tell Claude to write the prompt, and you basically are telling it to give itself instructions on how to meet your business needs.
Yeah.
So, and then you just hit enter. The prompt arrives. Copy, paste into code, and off it goes.
And even before you do that, you could even say, ask me clarifying questions that would make this prompt more elaborate and more effective. And it's very good at picking up on the context of what you're getting to and asks you better questions than a human would.
Totally. I did not do that this morning just because it was really simple and I knew exactly what I wanted. But if you don't know exactly what you want and you just have an idea, you could just say, you could give it like a 4-sentence line, a 4-sentence command, and then just say, ask me questions sequentially so I could give you more understanding and more context around what it is I want, because I'm not even sure what I want today. But they will ask you
the prompt after
and then generate the prompt.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Cool. So there is another tool that Taylor discovered during our GWA talk called Whisperflow. That is one that I use, but you can use the native tools available to you. Even the voice memo app has a transcript feature, and you can do it any way you want, but right into Claude. So that's how I use Claude in a lot of cases now. So we're in the interest of time, I'll shift and I'll show a couple other examples. But so just in terms of your workflow, it's largely in Claude Code. You can do probably most of what you're trying to do in Claude Cowork, but because you're building custom apps and custom software that integrates with GitHub and Vercel, and by the way, it tells you what tools you're going to need, right? Like you don't have to be like, you don't have to know what to set up. You're just like, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. It'll tell you what tools to set up and recommend you one. Most of them are free.
Yep.
That was the case.
Yeah,
for you.
It'll say like you clearly needed an account for Supabase or whatever, or Vercel or GitHub or any of them, and you just navigate to that website, log in with your Gmail address or your work address, and then sometimes you have to give Claude your credentials for it so it can start playing with it, or however it works.
It'll tell you.
It'll tell you, and then it just takes over.
Yeah. So Justin, like I've been building websites for 20 years. I joke about it with Taylor that it started off on a napkin or a piece of paper, and that's kind of true. But you don't have to know this stuff, right? Like Justin's a perfect example. He doesn't understand, anything about like the technical side of it. But you're probably learning stuff and asking questions, and you're getting more savvy, and you understand your tech stack now. There's free content management systems, cheap hosting. There's GitHub, which keeps control of the versions. So if you have to roll something back, but it teaches you all that stuff. And the audio version where it talks to you or you talk to it speeds up a lot. So I'll share my screen now and I'll show you a couple of use cases that I've had, just so we'll probably do more AI episodes and maybe just go deeper on AI in general, because this is like a fun and deep topic. And then we'll let Taylor show what he's up to. So let me just pull up one example here.
Got
so
it.
this is Whisper. This is the tool. It's a free tool, but you pay once you reach like 2,000 something words a week or something. But you can the way it works is you can just talk and then it turns your audio. You can even whisper, which is I guess where its name comes from, and it'll turn it into content you can use, or like a prompt or just text, or you can just paste it in. So I'll do long talks like this and put it in, and it'll do some stuff. So there's a couple things I did. One, I've been working with Shift Workspaces for the last few months. Taylor and I worked on this newsletter as an example, and frankly, it's one of the nicest looking newsletters we've ever put together. Mostly because Taylor's content is so good and my design skills are so good. I'm just kidding. It's the design skills that makes it look good. I'm just kidding. But no, so they already had a website, which is they have a website, which is new and has modern branding and visual identity. So it's it already has like a certain aesthetic to it. And so what I asked it to do originally was I wanted to create a visual style guide. And so, and based on the website. So this is an example where in the beginning I said, I think I just said basically, I clicked some buttons. Maybe I'll go back to here. I started a new project and I wanted high fidelity. No, I did instead of design system. And then I named a shift and then I did high fidelity and I created it. And that resulted in, so then, there was a text screen that I had to drop in. And I basically said, create a design system. So it asked me for a little bit of company information. I literally said premium co-working space in Denver and Littleton. And then all I said was pull from shiftworkspaces.com and populate strictly. So I wanted it to have a very strict adherence to the existing visual identity system. And so I created that first, and then it did that. So it went to the website and it gave, found out more information about the business. So it does a good job of understanding everything, the locations, structured everything really well, long form guides, whatever. But then it gets into like, how are, colors and buttons and imagery. So it showed kind of an imagery example, one of their little secondary marks, their actual logo as their primary mark, some photography directions. So it gives the sense of style and photography. So if I'm going to use photography, I'll use that. Neutral ladder. So any kind of color schemes that were used throughout the site, the primary colors, semantic colors, et cetera, et cetera. So, it did a good job of isolating buttons and hovers and focus and all the stuff, this just made my life a lot easier to replicate and recreate more design in the future. So I recommend if you're going to do anything design, start with this. Justin, you may not even have a style guide yet. You might have just built the site. This would be a way
I was just about to interrupt. Like, if like all this looks a little intimidating to, quite frankly, to someone that's never touched Claude Design before, but if you just wanted to start with an idea, 3 colors and a font, you can make whatever you wanted. Let's say you wanted to make an invitation to your next community event or something like that, just to try it out. You can start with just that, like a logo, a couple colors, and a font, and something to do. Like, here's what I want it to do, and you could just start there. But this is awesome. This is great.
You're right, and you don't even need to know what design you want. I'm really speaking like if you have an existing visual identity, this is the way to pull it in. If you don't, you can create one from scratch. That's all cool as well. And so this is basically then my prompt here, right? You can actually see it up here. Not complicated, did not dictate. I think I typed this. Can you turn this newsletter template into one that looks like the colors and branding of shiftworkspaces.com? I think I showed it a Google Doc with Taylor's copy in it. I want to roll it out to Mailchimp, but I have a couple options designed to look at. Similar structure and same content, just dark mode. It's supposed to say dark mode and looking like the current site. And so I'd had the existing visual identity system. I think it referenced it. And what else did I give it here? Anyway, I think I gave it a Google Doc with Taylor's content. I might have given it a couple other examples along the way of other newsletters of similar style that Taylor and I, for example, we work on a lot of newsletters together. And then, so it did something here. It asked me like 3 variations are laid out. It gave me 3 options. I didn't like them. I said, use the same colors as the website. Don't iterate there. Same fonts, etc. I use Google fonts or use similar Google fonts. Ideal as we'll be using their page builder and Mailchimp. We ended up using web safe fonts, which is fonts that are on people's computers, which is the way newsletters have to do it. Use secondary imagery from the website whenever possible, including strong branded header graphic. Overall, I like the design you did. Update copy and doc with this. So then I guess that's where I linked. Yeah, so there was, I think I used an old newsletter as an example. I can't remember exactly, but I sent it an example. And I said, but yeah, pull design identity from Shift Workspaces and adhere closely, build just one version of it instead of 3. And onward it went. And I probably gave it additional feedback along the way. And anyway, produced, with a little bit of back and forth. There was a bit more feedback that I had. There's quite a bit of feedback. Frankly, like I had to micro adjust things. You can even add like tags and little comments and stuff. So you can like click this tweaks thing and just talk into do tweaks, or you can hit comments and you can actually be like, this logo, move it down 14 pixels or get it out of the way. And as you do that, it'll actually iteratively change pieces of the design, which is really cool.
Clearly, I've never used that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great. He just jumps right into code, and that works great. But if you want to produce something, and like this is by far the best design we ever did. Eventually, I even used Claude through a few iterations to code it in a way that Mailchimp can handle it, that most email browsers can handle. Remember, the copy came straight out of a Google Doc from Taylor. Like it wasn't like I didn't spend any time messing with this at all. Highlighting some locations, etc. And so then I was able to take this as an HTML document, paste it into Mailchimp, and with a little bit of testing between Taylor and I, we got it looking the way we wanted it to, and we rolled it out. And now we have a template that we can build on for subsequent newsletters, and it works perfectly. And I even had Claude go in and upload this into Mailchimp for me. I didn't even have to log into Mailchimp; it did it. I used it, have it take over my browser to do so.
So the template for this now sits in Mailchimp, and
yes, and on my computer. So we also have that raw file that's in our so this will produce a raw file. So I don't know if I did share, and I think I might have exported it as a standalone HTML and downloaded that. So we have so it lives in that. We'll use that probably as reference. Say, take this HTML template that we used last time, or copy what we put into Mailchimp. Here's Taylor's new Google Doc. Smash them together, and then just adjust iteratively. Yeah.
Okay, so that'd be my next question. So if Taylor has a template of content that he uses, like he's going to populate certain sections with content, into a Google Doc again, you can just smash that back in there, and it creates this again. That's pretty sweet. And
all the links were in there correctly. Like it did a really good job of making sure everything was tight. And Taylor, chime in because I know you were involved in massaging it into play.
Well, yeah, you can basically where it gets interesting is the heavy lift is creating the first design file and adapting it to make sure that the responsiveness, it works for all the email platforms and things like that. But once you have that kind of heavy lift done, you can take that HTML, the code, copy that into Claude, take your content from a Word document, drop that into Claude too, and just say any specific instructions that you need, like any minor tweaks and stuff. You can just tell it to do that, and then it spits you back out the code that you then just copy and paste back into Mailchimp. So pretty meta, right? Like you use the tool to create the design. That's the heavy part. You do your content, and then you just get Claude to mash them together, and you don't even have to think about it. It just spits it right back out at you as like a near final version. And then if you have final edits that you see when it's showing up in your email provider, then you just fine tune it, spits you out new code. So it makes it really easy. You really don't have to know a whole lot to get that done.
Yeah. Nice. And so we factored in merge tags and making sure the unsubscribe links were the correct Mailchimp unsubscribe links and so on and so forth. So I don't know how we're doing on time, Taylor. How much time do we have left before you got to run?
We got a couple minutes here. I got like 6 minutes, but.
Okay. Well, do you want to just take over and talk about your thing then? I won't give another example.
Sure. Yeah, I can do that. I mean, and I think from my perspective, one thing, Justin, that you said earlier was the prompts are dead. And I think that the one place where I disagree with that is if you're creating a system. I really love the idea of creating repeatable systems. Obviously, I'm in a content world, so it's kind of like building a system and then refining it over time. So I think in that instance, the prompts are the gold because you can build them once and then you can adapt as you learn and as you go. And so, at the talk we had, we were talking about how to, create content, for instance, like if you wanted to jump into creating multi-channel content with AI, how do you do it? And I think it all comes down to having the prompts in place, and then that creates the repeatability so that you're not getting vastly different outputs every time. Like you're making sure that you're getting something that sounds the same no matter how many times you use it, instead of write me a prompt to write this and then it sounds one way, or write me a prompt to write that and it sounds another way.
So I guess the distinction there is whether you're building something that's non-repeating versus if you're building something that's repeating and you want a consistent result every time. So I think both, that's a very valid, because the prompts become basically code, whether you see it on the back end or not. It's basically the logic.
Correct.
Like, so when you're creating repeatable, like when we're doing this newsletter template, you're going to get it down to a science where it's just going to be like, just, and then check. It'll have an audit process, and you want all that prompt to be very precise.
100%.
So
and if you're
building something,
like I after Justin did his website, I got all inspired and used Claude Design to rebrand and rebuild the website too. And I was doing the same thing he was, just saying, Claude, write me a prompt that's going to get Claude Design to make these edits that I need it to make, because I might not be able to instruct it properly. On the other hand, though, if you're an operator and you want to create, you want to use AI to create member spotlights or whatever it might be, you want to make sure that the prompts that you have in place are consistent, so that every member spotlight you get is going to be framed similarly, worded similarly, sound like your brand, respect the tone of the person. So I think that's the nuance for sure. But in terms of like,
Oh, sorry to interrupt. I think, there's this thing called AI slop, and I think AI slop is most prevalent in content, and you can see it immediately, So like, if you leave us with anything today, like, what's the best way to avoid AI slop in writing content? Because AI can spit out a ton. Like, how do we make it, seem and feel like it's coming from us?
Yeah, I mean, then that's where the prompts come in. I think so. There's two parts to the answer to that question, and I can show a little bit about the process that I follow for myself and for clients to create content, so you can wrap your head around like how to approach this. But I think that comes from reading a lot of content and identifying things. Like, there's a lot of tells, right? Like, it'll go the this, the that, the other, or it'll say it's not this, it's that. It has these tells. So when you're talking about having those repeatable prompt structures in place, those are the things that are baked into it, so that you're forbidding Claude from using those like AI slop tells. And if you read a lot of it, you'll always know what's what. But you can train it to avoid the mistakes that it makes by having those repeatable prompts in place. And then the second part of that answer is that if you're just asking it to create content for you, it's just going to pull other people's ideas from all different parts of the internet, and it's going to sound like just a mashup of other people's thoughts. So I always say the best way to start this is to do work based on your own ideas and your own insights and your own thoughts and what you know, whether it's Whisper Flow, which I learned about mid-talk at the conference, or recording stuff in a notes app, or a voice memo, or recording stuff right into Claude, whatever it might be. Like, start with what you know. Or if you're interviewing a member for a spotlight, use the transcript. So like the AI slop, it's twofold. It's the granular stuff, but it's also the big picture of like, is this original or is it unique, or are you just asking it to pull, someone else's opinion and present it as your own?
Can you show us any of your like, I don't know if it's even possible to pull it up quickly, but some kind of an example of like how you would run it through a multi-step filter?
Yeah. So I'll show you so this is kind of the approach that I take to creating content. So this will change for everybody. I use a lot of video for myself, but it could be anything for you. So I start with whatever my original thought was. It's funny you say AI slop, because I recently did a thing about identifying AI slop. And so I'll take that, I'll blast this video, which is always awkward because I hate seeing myself on video, but I'll take the transcript, I'll edit the clips, and then I'll drop it into Claude. And what I'm always doing is I'm making sure that it's reviewing my content first. So, I always ask it every time that I use this. I'm like, go back and review my last 20 articles, or you can feed it a document with, if you're doing email content, if you're doing blog content, if you're doing social content, whatever, you can feed that into it so that it's constantly refreshing on your brand voice. And then I feed it the content that I want it to work on, and then I have the prompts built into place that I'll say, here's what I need you to do. Start with the big idea. I have very specific kind of voice appropriate, like how I write, how my voice sounds, what I want in it, what I don't want in it, and then I'll let it draft the content and iterate. So if you're an operator and you want to start creating content, I would recommend approaching it the same way. It doesn't have to be video, but have an idea, have it jotted down, and then feed that into Claude, and you can make it iterative. You can read it, give it tweaks, tell it where to change, tell it where to update. And then you can take it a step further if you have, a set of prompts for turning one idea into multi-channels. So the way I do that is I'll put everything on my blog. I'll publish the video on YouTube. I'll embed that in here. That ends up being LinkedIn content. And then it ends up being email content and Instagram content, all in one go. And so by having that kind of system, by having those prompts that are repeatable, I have, maybe 5 or 6 prompts with specifics so to take the single idea that you want to talk about, turn it into an article, turn it into an email, turn it into multi-channel content. So when I talk about systems, that's what I mean, right? Like, how can you use that to scale your content and do it easier and faster while still retaining your original idea and avoiding that AI slop. So, I think thinking multi-channel, thinking systematically, thinking what's a time suck or what you're not great at or what stalls you out, and then how can you build a system around that? For me, it's content. For you, it might be a number of other things, but that's the general approach I follow here.
And are you
That's
developing
awesome.
a written style guide at all? Like, rather than saying review my last 20 articles, which will slowly become AI infused, writing. Do you have like a standard style guide or?
Yeah, I do. Well, and that's all baked into the prompts. Let's see if I can find my actual prompts, because now it's all baked into my system. Sorry, let me a sec. See if I can.
Because you can add a context layer. You can be like, whenever I write like this, or I use a different tool called Obsidian that keeps track of all these things. So it almost like acts like a brain. So I can maybe look at my writing style that I've saved over time, and Obsidian's not necessary, but it helps. Yeah,
I do it even more like. I've built all these automated systems now, but when I was doing this manually, I would make it even more manual, because I found that even asking it to recall things over time, like, it's got a context window, but I find that it loses the context over time. So I'll always start fresh. I have multiple prompts. The first one is a role play, right? Like, imagine you're a world-class copywriter writing in the voice of so-and-so. I'll train you how to do that. Then I'll plug in a Word document of all those, reference materials. And then I'll say, okay, here's the direction. Here's what I want you to write. And then there's 30 points, right? Even if things as like granular as using em dashes or not, or Oxford commas and the tone. And then it'll draft, and then we'll iterate over time. So I take it one step further. Like, I don't ask it to recall things ever. I'm always starting fresh from the top, because I just find that if you're giving it the sample materials and you're giving it the prompts over and over and over, it really reduces that margin for error that it'll stray away from what you want it to do. So I like a really rinse and repeat type of method to it.
You can also say, like, never put an M, like if one squeaks in, you go like, never put an M dash in my writing again. And it'll be like, oh, okay. Like, I'll save that in my memory for later. And then it remembers it. And I don't know if that's because I have Obsidian or if Claude just does that for you, but it does add it to memory if you tell it to.
I find it slips maybe because I create so much content from clients' podcasts to my own, and it slips over time. So I keep everything in a document. Like, I keep a Word or a Google Doc with the prompts banked out into it. And then every time that I go through this process, I go, okay, tell me what you learned and what I asked you to change, and then structure that into an instruction that I can put back into my prompt, so that next time we're not doing it. So it's always, I'm iterating, I'm updating the prompts, I'm asking it to tell me. And if there's a better way to articulate something so it gets there faster, I'll ask it to do that too. And I constantly update that Google Doc so that it's every time it's fresh and every time it's as up to date as it can be.
Well, cool. I think we're out of time, but I think we should do more of these in the future, because I don't even think we scraped the surface on what's possible, and I'd love to teach more of this stuff, and there's an appetite for it. So if you're listening to this and you want to hear more of these or see more examples and you want us to spend more time, maybe we just do a session, we just grill Justin for an hour, and then vice versa. We can do that as well. So let us know, maybe add in the comments, and let us know you're paying attention. This is of interest to you, and we'll spend more time doing this. But Justin, thank you for being our new kind of honorary co-host. And
it's my pleasure.
Yeah, you bring the heat, so we elevate our game, and we appreciate that. And
thanks, Justin. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks for listening. Go check out our YouTube channel at Coworking Marketing, I believe.
Nailed
it. And then we're on LinkedIn as well, and you can find us over there, as well as our website, coworking.marketing. And Justin is over at WorkspaceMA.com. You can find Justin on LinkedIn, Justin Moran. Links will be in the description. And we'll be back around soon with more AI content for you, so stay tuned.